Hello, Leo. Welcome to your March 2023 astrological forecast. So let's go ahead and take a look here, see what comes through. So first and foremost, Pluto moves into Aquarius, Saturn moves into Pisces, Mars moves into Cancer. These are like the three really big things that are going on. Now, Pluto is going to be, I think, the biggest one for you because this is coming over your seventh house cusp. Now, all the fixed signs are going to be going through this. So you're not alone. I'm not just picking on you, but this is going to be a whole big thing over the next couple of years. Okay. He comes into Aquarius, he goes back into Capricorn, he comes back into Aquarius, and then he comes back into Capricorn, and then he goes back into Aquarius. He goes back and forth 2 different times over this line before he finally settles in your 7th house at the very end of 2024. So it's not going to be easy because these angles here, 10, 1, 4, and 7, these are such important aspects of our lives, our sense of self, our home and our family and our safe spaces, our relationships, our most important intimate relationships, and our careers and our public life and, the house that indicates the contribution that we make to humanity. I mean, this is a big deal, okay? Now, I'm not saying that March, everything's going to happen in March, okay? We're just kind of easing into it. Pluto's just sort of dipping his toe into that Aquarian pool. So there might be a little bit of foreshadowing of things that may not fully come to fruition until a few years from now. But there's a lot of introductory energy here. Now, Pluto coming into the 7th house, first and foremost, let's just talk about how hard Leo has been working. Pluto in the 6th. I know that Leo has been, really working hard on being the absolute best version that they can possibly be of themselves. It's not, 6th house is not an easy house. They call it a karmic house along with the 8th and the 12th houses. This is not the most friendly house because it is such hard work. And you kill yourself trying to be the absolute best. And in a way, you want to be the quote unquote perfect version of you. And while you may have learned a lot about grace and compassion for yourself and forgiveness and all of that, there's still this drive to still go and be better. Now that's coming to an end. I mean, you're pretty great already, but that is coming to an end. And now it's time for you to really focus your energies and your efforts on your romantic relationships and any other kind of partnerships at large. Although I think for most people it's going to be romantic, but a lot of you business owners and entrepreneurs out there might be something going on with you partnering with new people, new companies, merging companies, all that kind of stuff going on with the 7th house as well. Pluto brings with it an intense desire. And once you have your mind set on something, you cannot waver. Okay, Pluto and Mars, Mars specifically is like, let's say, the ruler of Scorpio, also Aries, but Scorpio. Pluto is also tied in with Scorpio in modern Western astrology. Okay, so when we kind of take that Mars, Scorpionic, Plutonic approach, we can sort of deduce that Pluto has this laser-like focus, right? Where Mars has a linear focus. This is about going in a straight line. This is about setting your sights on a target and going after it. This is not about everything else. My cat got scared. She's like, "Oh, get me out of here." But it's not about everything else. This is like the difference between a laser and diffused light, right? Like on an overcast day, you can't really see the sun rays, but still light outside because the light is diffusing in the clouds and it kind of comes down as a whole, right? That's more Neptune, Jupiter stuff. This is literally like a laser. Okay, so the desire comes in for a partnership, for a relationship, to work together with someone to accomplish some kind of goal, to commit to someone. Now, for those of you who are single, this is really you being like, all right, I'm ready to find my partner. I'm ready to find my person. The past couple years, maybe you've been like, I don't know if I want that. I don't know. It doesn't really feel right. Doesn't feel good to me, doesn't feel right. It has to be a really super special person in order for me to even remotely be interested. That's Saturn. Saturn's gone now. And now Pluto, there's nothing wrong with that. He certainly set the bar really high, which is good ultimately, because at least you'll know that the type of person you will attract will be, higher quality. He's gone now. Pluto comes in, is like, we got to make that happen, And if you are married already or in an established relationship, yes, that relationship is going to completely transform, and it will transform you. And if you're healthy with your partner and you can communicate and you can be vulnerable and you can talk about hard things, Pluto brings two people together like super glue. Like you truly merge and become one with Pluto in the 7th. And there's a beauty to that degree of intimacy and that tantric connection that can be created. If you're in an unhealthy or a challenged relationship where communication isn't all that great, Pluto can really come in and rough some stuff up. All right. Now remember, Pluto's transit is 20 years. So I'm not saying this is all happening in March. It's not all happening in March. It's just, we're just dipping our toe in the pool a little bit. Okay. But there's a lot to look forward to. There's a lot to level up. There's a lot of karmic stuff that may happen as well. If you're still in if you're still attracting from, I don't want to say like the wounded place. I don't think we all have to be perfectly healed in order to find love. But I also know that if we are resisting that healing process and we're kind of sabotaging our lives through partnerships, whether consciously or unconsciously, Pluto's going to throw some punches. It's not going to be pretty. It's going to be a very challenging growth period in order for you to understand your worth and what merging energy and what sexuality actually really does to a person, right? Sexuality can be one of the most beautiful, incredible experiences that is a part of the human experience, but a lot of people throw the meaning and throw the importance completely out the window, and they get their energy and their auric field all messed up and their whole life gets, kind of out of whack. So I do think there's a quality of loyalty and specialness that Pluto demands in order for this transit to be a really good transit. If you're not acknowledging the specialness and the uniqueness of love and relationships, he's gonna show you. Okay? He's gonna show you. Now we have Saturn coming into the 8th, which, he's, the 8th house is, of course, the house of transformation, but it also has a lot to do with a partner's resources, loans, debts, mortgages, credit cards, all that kind of thing. If you are in a relationship, it's possible that your partner may be going through something really challenging. They may be going through, a dip in their finances, or their career might be struggling a little bit. And that could affect the household income. It is possible that either you or your partner or both of you get into some kind of a debt. Now, sometimes it's harder to get access to resources with Saturn here. So like if you wanted to take out a loan for a house, maybe the mortgage, maybe you are like, man, I don't know that I would want to take out that mortgage. I don't know if I want to pay the interest or something like that. And so there might be a blockage or a lot of barriers to entry in terms of taking out that debt. Now, obviously, debt can be a good thing if you know how to use it, you know how to leverage it and work within the system in order to increase your net worth or whatever. But if you don't know how to do that, then chances are taking on more debt is a really bad idea. I don't think I would recommend, unless it's an absolute necessity, like your full car just breaks down and you can't really afford another one, like, okay, yeah, take out a car loan. But I'd rather see you either using a really smart debt, for that kind of thing, or just pay all cash if you can and just, do that and kind of avoid that debt sort of system. The problem is I don't like people mingling resources when Saturn is in here, because it can become incredibly burdensome. And if you are tied to someone who is very irresponsible, doesn't know how to spend, doesn't know how to, pay attention to that, this can often be somewhat problematic, and it can create relationship problems. Of course, money, it's not an accident that the 8th house comes after the 7th house. 7th house is where we get married and we join forces, and then immediately we have to start talking about the resources, right? Marriage and resources are so intrinsically linked. And partnerships and legal agreements and resources, they all go together. So yeah, you are going to be thinking a lot about resources. You're going to be thinking a lot about money. You're going to be thinking a lot about your own job and what it is that you do to produce income. And maybe some of you might be taking on, a position where you have to care for another person. You have to care financially for another person. Now, you may not be upset about that. Like if you have a child, you have a dependent, let's say you have a stay-at-home person, like someone you're married to who stays at home. Yeah, you have to support them. You have to, care for them. And that might be your burden, but it might also be an honorable burden that you bear, honorably. But for many of you, it could be problematic. So you just want to make sure that you're not getting yourself into situations. And Pluto in Aquarius, again, can bring out that intensity of desire. So be careful that your desire to be in a marriage or to be in a relationship does not overshadow your common sense. It doesn't overshadow your ability to look and be like, does this really work? Are we going to be good together? Do we communicate well? Do we add to each other's well-being? One thing that we don't talk enough about in the Western traditions is luck. And I learned a lot about this through Vedic astrology, and I looked back on my life, and I remember I dated someone, and our Vedic score, I can't remember what it was, but the good luck component was really bad, okay? And I just remember when I dated him, I had the worst luck I have ever had in my life. Our apartment got broken into, his car got broken into, I lost every penny I had. It was everything was bad. I get out of the relationship and my life evened out. And it was fine. And it wasn't me that had bad luck. It was the people it was him. It was us together. We brought bad luck into each other's lives. And so you don't want to overshadow, oh, I love this person. Oh, they're so great. I can see this fantasy future in front of us. And to be so driven by the desire of having something that you overshadow basic principles of what it means to have a healthy relationship, okay? Because if you get into something too fast and you fall in love too quickly and you merge too quickly, Saturn in Pisces can be an issue in the 8th house, okay? So just be cautious and take your time is all I'm saying. Just be short. Now, we also have Mars coming into the 12th. Now, of course, Mars did his whole retrograde thing here. He's been in Gemini since August. So the fact that he is coming into Cancer is kind of exciting. I think we're all really ready for that shift. Gemini energy, I do think works well with Leo. I don't think this was it probably wasn't the worst thing in the world. Maybe you did get a lot done. Maybe there was a lot of, movement in your life. But I also know that maybe Leo needs a little bit of a break. And when Mars comes into this 12th house, that is exactly what you'll be getting, is a little bit of a break. Now, this doesn't happen until March 25th, so we will talk a little bit more about it in April. But generally speaking, when Mars comes into the 12th, you are going to need a lot more rest. And you might even feel, especially with Saturn now in the 8th, there is going to be a desire to be a little bit more isolated and much more selective with the people. Now, many Leos are just selective anyway, so I don't know that that's really that different, but selective of the people that you hang out, the selective of people that you give energy to, anything like that. I do think Leo is going to go through a period of withdrawal over the next couple of months as you adjust into this 8th house, 12th house energy. You'll come back to life this late spring when Mars comes back into Leo. You will come back to life, but if you need just a little bit of hibernation to be in your private world, to be with the people that you love, to just kind of take care of your business, whatever the case is, that would be highly advisable. And it will be productive to some degree. I think the more rest you can take with Mars in the 12th, the better off you'll be. You'll be able to focus on just your general well-being, your physical health, your nutrition, everything like that, as Mars will aspect the 6th house. It's an opportunity for you to get your house in order as you prepare fully for Saturn in the 8th. Now, we also have Jupiter. Now, I have this clock set for March 15th. So at the beginning of March, Jupiter is still making its way into that conjunction with Chiron. And that officially comes conjunct on the 12th when they hit that exact degree. 13th, 14th, 15th, Jupiter starts to separate off of Chiron. Now, I do feel like we got a little short change with the Jupiter and Aries transit, just because Chiron was smack dab in the very middle of Aries. So, the build up to Chiron certainly brought out a lot of stuff. There was a lot of healing. I think a lot of Leos went through some pretty life-changing events over the past couple of months. Like, it really hit you that your life is different. It really hit you that things are changing. It hit you that, you're being called up to some kind of a higher order. And now that he's separating, we have a couple of months between now and the middle of May for Jupiter to remain in Aries. And this is when we're going to really start to see the benefit. Now, because this is activating your 9th house, I do think there's going to be a desire for much more expansion, to go bigger. You're going to allow yourself to dream bigger a lot here. There's a lot of spirituality that comes through the 9th house. So you'll be working a lot on your spiritual practice, connecting with your higher self, with God, with the divine. You'll be also maybe learning something new and something that really excites you and something that, you can integrate into your life. It's not just learning for the sake of learning. It's probably learning something that's usable and that really benefits you. Some of you might be traveling as well, or have a strong desire to travel or to relocate or something like that. And that Jupiterian energy is going to get really, really strong. Okay. Now, this is the last thing I want to talk about. We have Venus coming in contact with the North Node. Now, Venus comes into rulership. Love, love, love. We love that. But the North Node is kind of a tricky thing, okay? And I've been describing it on all the readings like this. Okay, the North Node, there's a lot of desire there as well. We've got a lot of desirous planets. There's a lot of desire. So in the 10th house, Leo wanting to shine, to be seen, to be appreciated, to be valued, right? To grow. Maybe you wanted a promotion. Maybe you wanted to take your business to a higher level, whatever the case was. And so there was a lot of desire, and it just sort of was like piling up, because the North Node is not like a flowing channel. There's a really weird clog there that happens, and it's very difficult to really reach or to fully attain that. But it is being driven by desire. So throughout the past year and a half, okay, the end of 2021, the node transitioned, okay, came into Taurus. End of 2021, all this time, you've been casting desires. You've been manifesting, right? You've been putting your thoughts. You've been investing. You've been thinking. You've been planning and strategizing and all this stuff. And maybe nothing really fully popped off. I'm not saying nothing happened. I'm sure some stuff has happened, but it probably might not be to the degree that you were wanting or really hoping for. That's also a part of Pluto in the 6th, by the way. I think Leo is finally going to get what they truly deserve in a good way, especially with their career and their work life, okay? So in July, the node is going to move into Aries. And all that desire stuff, all that thought and all that investment that you've been putting into something, all of a sudden the the drain gets unclogged, and all of a sudden all this stuff can start flowing through. Now, that's July. Right now, Venus comes in contact. She comes back home. She comes back to her beautiful Taurian mansion. She comes back to her domicile, and she has these really weird house guests. Okay, she's got the North Node, who is like super crazy and greedy and desirous. And then we have this weird social reform inventor, Einstein type of person. Okay, and she's just like, all right, I got to entertain these guests. I got to hear what they have to say. I have to at least, do the gracious thing and sit down to dinner and talk to them. So she's not going to really do anything though. She's just going to hear them out. Now, when she comes into Leo, your sign, in July, she's doing a retrograde in Leo. Okay? She's retrograding, and that's the same time that North Node comes into Aries. Boom. So this Taurian channel and her contact here with these planets, it's probably not really going to come to fruition for several months. This is quiet. We're probably not even going to really notice this, but we will definitely notice it later this summer, beginning of Leo season, actually. Okay? And probably you can expect to experience some good things around that time. Some good things career-wise, but also relationship-wise, and also in terms of your home and family environment. Okay? So I just wanted to point that out because I'll certainly be talking more about that in the months to come. With all the other stuff going on, this is minimal, like one of the least important things, but it will become more important later on. Okay, so I will say maybe this is a good time to really cast your wish. Cast your wish as Venus comes into Taurus on the 16th and comes into this conjunction throughout the rest, throughout the following week, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, okay, of March, before Aries season begins. And chances are that wish will absolutely be noted, and she will release, when she retrogrades here in Leo, she will release the opportunities that will get you to where you need to be. Okay? All right, Leo, thank you so much. You guys know I love you. Have an amazing March, and I'll talk to you soon. Take care.